ask my mum and my dad, or Helen and Ralph, if they are willing to just share some practical thoughts on what we've been talking about. And I know there's Becky, what you've shared is so rich, and there's lots of practical things in there.
Yes.
And I know people are going to enjoy watching the recording when we put that out as well.
Yes, yeah.
But over to you.
Yes, yeah. Coincidentally, this morning, we were doing our Bible reading, Ralph and me, and we read through the Bible in a year. And we were in Deuteronomy, and this was one of the verses from Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 9. It says, "But watch out, be careful never to forget what you yourselves have seen. Do not let these memories escape from your mind as long as you live, and be sure to pass them on to your children and grandchildren." So I thought, oh, that's interesting that's today. Yeah, so God very much wants us as grandparents to be involved with the grandchildren. It's a generation to generation thing, isn't it? Across all the generations. And really, I'm just going to share a few things that have worked out for us as grandparents, because Becky was so good with everything she said. It really did sum up our experience, I think. When we first heard that we were going to be grandparents, we really were over the moon, weren't we? And I knew it was going to be great being a grandparent, but I didn't realize just how amazing and wonderful it is until the first grandchild came along. And then, of course, we were completely in love with our oldest grandchild from the very beginning, from day one. And he's now approaching the age of 21. And so we have 9 grandchildren altogether, ranging from 21 down to the youngest, who's now 11, approaching 12 this summer. So I think in the beginning, we made the decision, didn't we, that we didn't want to be distant grandparents, although we did live at quite a distance from, it's Ollie's first son. We were up in Shropshire and you were down in London, weren't you? And Joshua was born. So we used our one day off quite often to travel down to London by car and visit. And I can honestly say that the more time you can sow into your grandchildren in some way or another, the more you reap the benefit as the years go on as well. They really do become your friends as well as your grandchildren. So as I was thinking through what perhaps I might share today, I was thinking what comes to mind about being a good grandparent. And the first thing I thought was be available and be a friend and gain their trust. And I think that came across in Becky's talk as well, didn't it? And then the whole thing about spending as much quality time as possible as you can with your grandchildren, because it's just so enjoyable all round. They enjoy it, we enjoy it, it's fun quite often, have lovely times together. And also be very interested in everything they're doing. It's like being the cheerleader on the sidelines, I think. And I think that particularly now for most of our grandchildren are teenagers, and to just be there, to be the cheerleader when they want to come and sort of just flop down and share something with you, just be available for that moment and encourage them along. And one of our granddaughters in particular, who lives actually next door to us, she will just ring the bell, come in, we get her a can of Coke and she'll flop on the settee. Oh yes, she knows where to find it in the fridge. And she'll just tell us everything that's been happening at school about her friends and what this one said and that one said. And it's just so lovely that she feels able to come and confide in us, and we can share all the joys and the sorrows and all of that kind of thing. And then the whole thing as well about making memories and perhaps making little family traditions. I think that's been a feature of being grandparents for us as well. And so And as the years go on, you get a little stock of stories, family stories, don't you? Funny instances that have happened. Like the day, I think this particular grandson was probably about 3.5, and his brother was just 2, some about that age. 3.5-year-old grandson was staying with us for a few days. The two were staying with us for a few days. And the 3.5-year-old one says, I'm going in the garden, gets his shoes on and rushes out. The younger one wants to go too, but he needs help to get his shoes on. Then I'm thinking, what about the pond? So I say to Ralph, can you go out in the garden quick? I'm worried about the pond. And Ralph got there just in time to find his grandson had thought it was a great big puddle and it would be fun to splash in it. And there he is, up to his armpits in weeds and everything. And so he was rescued from the pond by Ralph and deposited on the back doorstep. And I just started laughing and said, "Oh, Joshua, did you think that was a puddle?" And he said, "Yes, Granny, and it's not funny." you know. But that story now, one of our other grandsons quite often says, "Tell me, Granny, tell me that story about the pond." So you make up these memories, don't you? And then also little traditions as well. And when some of Ollie's children were younger and we lived at a distance, we often had sleepovers and things like that. And so there were little sort of traditions and the structure to the day. And one of them was to finish off the day by just watching In the Night Garden on the TV. And then 7 o'clock came and it was bedtime. And that became a little tradition when they came to stay with us. And more recently, after we'd had the lockdowns and not had much contact, physical contact with the grandchildren as a result, we then finally had another sleepover. And I think 2 or 3 of them came from Ollie's family. And they wanted to carry on that tradition. They're too old for the night garden now, really, but they all wanted to sit and watch it because that's what you do when you're at Granny and Nonno's and having a sleepover. And in a way, it seemed to be a healing thing from the sort of not having had that contact during lockdown. It seemed as if it was like they needed to return to what they'd known before, just to have that healing from the experience of being apart. And then other things, really just things like whatever age the grandchildren are, just join in whatever games they like to play with, sit down and build Lego or whatever you do, little puzzles for tiny tots. And when they're older, do some cooking together or gardening together. We did some this morning with 2 of them. We went out to rake moss off the lawn. They just love doing things together, really. And all the time chat, chat, chat as you do things, just building up the relationship, isn't it? And then outings as well. We're very lucky that we've got a nice National Trust place near us. So we have a family card, don't we? So we can take as many grandchildren as we like. And sometimes we take a bit of a picnic and go for a walk around the grounds or look around the house, and just enjoy doing things together. What else have we done? Oh, other fun things. Make some pizza dough and everybody put their own toppings on. That's quite a favourite one because it's always nice to share something good to eat together, isn't it? And I think, Ralph, you're good at one-to-ones with grandchildren, aren't you? So share a bit about what you do with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. As I was thinking about today, what struck me was a passage from Romans 1, 11 and 12, which I'll read to you. I long to see you so that I may impart to you some spiritual gift to make you strong. That is, that you and I may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith. And in many ways, I find spending time with the grandchildren, it blesses both of us. It's not just a blessing to them, but it's a blessing to me as well. And I love to do it, as Helen said, one at a time. And now even the grandchildren say, when are we going to go out, you and I alone? And that's so important, making up practical things where we spend time together. It isn't always easy. In fact, with one set of grandchildren, I keep inviting them to come out with me one at a time, but I haven't succeeded yet. But I am praying that one day the Lord will move the hearts of their parents, say, yes, here they are, take them away. So it's not something that comes naturally, and investing and working at it is such an important aspect. Remembering that it's that you and I may both be blessed. It's a blessing to both of us as we spend time together.
Tell them about what you learnt in, what's the chicken place we went to for a meal?
Oh, I can't remember.
Oh,
Nando's.
Nando's.
Nando's, that's right.
Yeah.
We arranged to take him out for a meal somewhere, but it didn't work out. And I know he loves chicken. So I said, would you like to go to KFC? He said, yeah, what about Nando's? I said, what's Nando? He said, it's a sort of posh KFC. I said, okay, we'll go there. And Helen came with us at that point. And we had this lovely meal. But I had to learn how to order my meal at the table using my phone. And he had to teach me. And I kept saying, where's the drinks? He says, keep sliding, you'll get there. And it's part of sort of journeying and learning the language as well. Learning the things like how do you order from the table. So that's quite important as well.
Yes. I suppose we're at a stage with many of ours now where we're learning how to relate to the grandchildren as grown-ups, aren't we? You know,
Yes.
it's the same with in the way with your children. That you come to that point where they become more friends rather than parent-child. And I think we're getting to that stage with several of our grandchildren now.
And enjoy them. Enjoy all the different stages as much as you enjoyed your own children, but very much with the grandchildren. Sometimes I wish I was a grandmother before I was a father.
Yeah, I would have been a better mother if I'd been a grandmother first, I think, yes.
So there's a sense that in a sense we're all on a journey. We can learn from each other, but the grandchildren can teach us different things. I remember once saying to one of the grandchildren, so are you going to church on Sunday? He said, no, no. They call me nonno, which is Italian for granddad. I said, oh, okay. I thought you went to church on Sunday. He said, no, I'm not going to church on Sunday. So I said, what are you going to be doing on Sunday? He said, well, let's put it like that. We are the church. We don't go to church. We are the church. So I had to learn from him.
He was about 2.5.
He was about 2.5.
Wow, who would raise such an opinionated child? I have no idea. Oh dear. You had one more thing in your notes, Mum, the last thing on your list, because I'm looking over my mum's notes to see.
Did I have it
The
right?
last thing you had
Yeah.
is I think this is one of
Oh, yes.
those really interesting key things.
Oh, yeah.
We've been talking a lot about the grandparent-grandchild relationship,
Yeah.
and it's been enriching that is really powerful. And I'm loving hearing some of the little snippets we've heard from you guys. But I think number 8 on your list.
Oh, yes,
is,
I did forget. I did overlook that one. It's about supporting your children in their parenting. Yeah.
I think supporting your adult children. Parenting is tough. Parenting was tough when you raised your kids, wasn't it? There's no manual, there's no easy description. Parenting is 10 times tougher now because the world that we live in, particularly if you're trying to raise children in faith, the world that we live in is much more in opposition to that, and there are many more pulls. I think that the whole area of technology. I mean, we grew up. When I grew up, the BBC worked one kids channel for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then it stopped, and then you went out to play. Now it's 24/7 media available. So there are unique challenges. And I mean, I think most parents feel like they're failing at some point, but you can be that voice of, you're doing great, you're doing great. Oh, I wish I'd done what you did. And where you can see they're doing well, to be able to encourage that, even if there are areas that you may disagree with how they're doing things, just being that support there will, I think you'll find that it will help your adult children, the parents, to release their grandchildren to you as well, because they feel you're on their side. You're not in opposition to them. And of course, every family is going to be different, and some are like, well, we don't have any issues with our adult children. They love us, we love them, and it's all fine. But for others of you, that might be the word that you need to just be encouraging and be there for them. Well, we've got just over 15 minutes left, and there's a couple of things I want to do. The first thing we're going to do is put you back in small groups. One of your groups was really, really, really small. So we've moved you, because someone who was in that group left. So we're going to move you in and join you with another group. So you might have a couple of new people in with you. But we're going to give you some time just to pray together, to pray specifically for your grandchildren, for any needs, specific things you want to pray for together. None of that's going to be recorded, so feel free to share openly and be open as you wish to be in that time. There's no pressure. If you want to just sit there and make notes on everyone else's family, you are of course welcome to do that. So we'll give you about 10 minutes praying together, and if you don't have grandchildren, I know there's one or two on the call who don't have grandchildren, that's fine. Be part of it as well, and pray for the others. And I pray for your future grandchildren if you have children of your own, or if that's not going to happen along the way, then pray for the grandchildren in your church. So you can raise permission to raise a flag for a surrogate grandchild along the way if you'd like to. Okay, so we're going to give about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back for the last few minutes together. So we'll see you in a little bit. Once again, there'll be a message on the screen inviting you to join your breakout group, and we'll see you when you return.